So I just got back from Canyon High School where I was shadowing Miss Blackwell for the day. She had two art one classes, one digital media class, and then one advanced class. And then she also had this weird study period that I can tell you a little bit about. But some of my first impressions are, wow, like every class had such a different environment that was happening with it because of all of the different students that were in that class essentially. And like, for example, her first class was her advanced students, and she has a very low level, I guess, managing classroom management style for that class. And their projects are choice based, meaning like they kind of are given 9 prompts, and then throughout the entire year they're able to kind of decide what they want to work on. They just have to like have these many pieces done. They have to be well thought out. And I really liked that style for an advanced class. And she was very low level in that class. I noticed I was a little bit nervous like introducing myself to the students, but as the classes went on throughout the day, I got like more and more comfortable. I think it was just resettling back into that environment, and I feel like I almost forgot how high schoolers are, and like I guess that I haven't been to high school in a while, I guess, and to a high school in a while, but it's just interesting seeing like how different everything was. And she did like, I noticed that she did like some formative assessments, kind of seeing how far along students were. For example, she was saying, okay, well, how many of y'all like think that you can get your piece done within one day? And then like so many people raised their hands, so many people didn't raise their hands. And yeah, and so I thought that was really interesting. She used different attention getters. So she would say funny things like, "Oh, if you can hear me say applesauce," then the whole class would just scream like applesauce if they could hear her. And that's what she would kind of use to settle it down. She's so energetic. My teacher was like, she's just all over the place and really energetic. And I don't think that it's necessarily like a bad thing, but I do think that I noticed that some of her attention would get distracted and go other places when she was trying to do another thing, and then kind of get off task a little bit. But other than that, like I think that she was running like a pretty successful class. It was interesting seeing some of the lesson plans that she had and like the organization. So she was doing a lesson plan with Art 1 students that I was kind of curious about, because I guess like we're just like taught different things. So it seemed that a lot of the students didn't really understand the project, and a lot of them were uninterested in the project itself. So when I went up and I was talking to them, like, hey, like, do you like this? Like, you know, what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Let's talk about your piece. A lot of them didn't really understand what the project was and what they were kind of supposed to be learning out of it. And I think that project, in my opinion, maybe what isn't the most successful project with them, because they're not really getting what she's trying to show them. And so that was like interesting seeing how, you know, us as artists, we're so used to being like, oh, like just do this, just do this, just do this, and then actually seeing that students are struggling to understand was really interesting to see, because I guess I kind of forget about that. Like we were talking about values and shading, and I was like, oh yeah, like you just darken this part here, add lights here, and then you're good. And then it wasn't like, something wasn't connecting with them. And so I definitely had to find different ways to explain certain elements or certain arts and stuff, so that way they could understand it, because a lot of them, this was their first time in classes. And you know, I did get a few students who were being a little bit disruptive, and like I was saying, one of the things that stood out to me was how different the classes were. So for example, like I was saying, her first class was all of her AP students essentially. Her second class was a digital media class, but it was a credit that you could take instead of Art 1, so there was a lot of freshmen in that class. And in that class there was a lot of disruptive personalities in there, I guess I would say, and definitely like rude comments were being said. And it was interesting seeing like how her level of classroom management changed because of that class, because of how many like loud personalities there were. And it was a critique day, so they were talking about their pieces, and you can kind of tell that, I don't know if like if rules were established or not before they did the critique, but I could kind of tell that some of the students weren't really, I don't think that they were prepared to kind of have a critique like that, because there was a lot of like comments being thrown around. I don't think that it was taken very seriously by the students, and it kind of is like making me wonder like how to like make students care more, I guess, about the lessons that we're doing, or how do I create lessons that help enable learning for these students and get them excited about learning. And so I think that it's kind of one of the first times too where I'm realizing that a lot of the stuff that we talk about in practice, like when you're talking about it, it's really easy to do, but like doing it in practice, I think is a lot harder than it is like essentially it's like easier said than done. And so I kind of am like starting to think about like things that I can do prior to the school year starting to help kind of establish the type of environment I want to create, kind of the lessons that I want to create, and just to kind of create a better learning environment. Because I think that she has a good relationship with a lot of the students, but I don't feel like there's a lot of artistic learning going on. There's some discussion, but except for like in the upper level class, like I was saying, it's just mainly her art 1 classes and her digital media class that is kind of lacking in the actual learning. Like the students are doing the projects, but I feel like a lot of them, not even I feel like, I know that a lot of them were copying the example that was shown. And so I would ask them like, well, why are you doing this? And they would just say, oh, well, because that's what the example is. And they were turning that in as their final piece. And so that kind of made me wonder what else could be done, or like what else students are interested in, and to kind of help them think past an example. And yeah, I'm really interested to observe mainly like more art 1 classes, because I do think that the upper level classes are great to see, but I feel like art 1 is where you're having like the most issues with classes, and you're having a lot of young artists, like young beginning artists, and I think that it's one of the best places for me to see growth. So I'm pretty excited to kind of, I guess, go and observe more classes and talk about like the curriculum ideas I have. And we were talking to Miss Blackwell about a lot of the stuff that went on in the class, and kind of just getting her advice of like our first year out of school, like how that year would look. So, but overall, I think it was a really good day. Learned a lot, saw a lot, and yeah, it just kind of left me with, I feel like, more questions than answers, but I'm really excited to see how the rest of the semester pans out with working with upper level high school students. So, bye.